Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Motormania podcast for today, the 6th of November 2024. We have got lots to talk about on this show: cars, Formula One, and a whole lot more. So, on this episode of the podcast, so please, obviously, as well as this is part of my YouTube channel, Chazza Squash, please go ahead and click the top right hand corner, like and subscribe to today's podcast, and I'll alert you when new videos come online. When they do eventually come online. So, yes, welcome to the podcast. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I'm gonna also be putting out some new YouTube content. I'm currently away at the moment in Butlins, Bognor Regis on a little holiday, so I am in the middle at the moment of trying to catch up with doing all of these. But we're going to do the podcast now. It's a short episode today, but we have got some things to talk about. First of all, the Formula One raced last week. It was the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, which took place at Interlagos, and in a wet race, honestly, conditions were at times treacherous, slippery, everything. Red Bull's Max Verstappen claimed the victory, his first victory in 10 races, his first victory since the Spanish Grand Prix, would you believe it? Verstappen won. It was a huge win. What a drive from 17th on the grid. I think it's the 5th lowest winning position in F1 history. What a drive. It was a champion's drive. It was an incredible display of driving from Max Verstappen to win that race. And boy, he delivered. I know Mexico kind of had controversial surroundings around the Lando Norris battle as well, but Verstappen just got himself into a league of his own that day. And also, second and third went the way of the two Alpines of Esteban Ocon heading home Pierre Gasly for second and third. A double podium, the first double podium for the Enstone-based squad in, well, I think since 2013. It's a long, long time. Alpine have been very poor this year, not great form, but in that race, they had a great qualifying. They showed in qualifying the true pace in wet conditions, and that has now leapfrogged them up the constructors' table. I think they're now up to 6th in the constructors' championship. This race alone is probably more points they've scored throughout the whole of the season. It is crazy. That's why you see the positions a little bit mixed up, because half of these people did not qualify. Obviously, with the weather conditions, obviously qualifying was practically suspended on Saturday. There was no qualifying on Saturday. That got cancelled. It was all done on the Sunday morning. Ocon and Gasly both got it into Q3 and actually had some very impressive qualifying performances. But yeah, no, double podium. What a brilliant result for the team. And Oliver Oakes, well done to you. Because I know Alpine have had lots of management issues, team principals going a lot of the time, but that drive was just, for both of them, Ocon and Gasly is probably their finest moment for a long time. Overall a great and a brilliant effort. Brilliant and sensational result for both of them. George Russell finished 4th. That was despite taking the lead earlier on from McLaren's Lando Norris, who finished down in 6th. After having just a chaotic race, he went wide and made a late mistake, went wide. I think he got investigated as well for a start line infringement. That's where Lance Stroll basically binned it on the formation lap in the gravel down at turn 4. But yeah, no, just completely craziness. But yeah, Leclerc 5th, Norris down in 6th. A very disappointing day for McLaren. Especially Norris, who started on pole for that race. Yuki Tsunoda got 7th. A very impressive result for both him and for his teammate. RB getting double points. V-car, both 2 cars in the top 10. Liam Lawson finishing 9th, despite getting hit by Oscar Piastri, who got a 10-second time penalty. Oscar Piastri was very, very gracious, very, very... showed great sportsmanship after that penalty, admitting it was his own fault. I have to say, Oscar Piastri was very good. He's very good friends with Liam Lawson. And, he completely, in the interview, Piastri said that it was his own fault. He misjudged his braking. And I like drivers who talk like that. Piastri has got such a great attitude, even on days when he even on a day when things don't work out. At least Oscar was very, very honest and said, I'm very sorry, because Piastri knew that he was very sorry for Lawson, that he wrecked his race. And I like that from drivers, exactly. And then in 10th place was Lewis Hamilton. There was a close little fight right at the end there for the final point. Lawson and Hamilton had a great little battle towards the end, but Hamilton, oh dear, he had an absolute shocker of a weekend. Again, very poor qualifying. The sprint was dreadful. He didn't gain any places in the sprint. And unfortunately then finished down in 10th to score the final point. Questions over his future at Mercedes certainly look bad. Sergio Perez, 11th. Another very disappointing result for him. I mean, why is he still in that car? I don't get why Christian Horner should be fired long ago. He needs to go. Honestly, next season, they need to get that Perez out the team. Because for me, this is the worst teammate for Max Verstappen has ever had. Especially this season. He is regularly, I think since Imola, he's very rarely been in the points. Ollie Behrman finished 12th. That was despite hitting the wall multiple times. Behrman done very well to recover to 12th. Valtteri Bottas finishes 13th, and confirmation that he will be leaving Kick Sauber at the end of the season. That came through today. Fernando Alonso 14th. Zhou Guanyu also leaves the team, finishes 15th. And, well, several DNFs. Nico Hulkenberg got disqualified for illegally rejoining the circuit and getting assistance from the marshals, which was meant he was shown the black flag, which was disqualification. Lance Stroll obviously spun out on the formation lap. Alex Albon didn't even start after crashing out in qualifying, despite getting through into Q3 in the Williams. And Franco Colapinto also crashed out as the rain began to intensify, which is when the red flag was thrown. And Carlos Sainz also crashed out. The winner of the Mexico City Grand Prix also crashed out. Oh dear. I mean, not an ideal weekend. And as a result now, will Verstappen extends his championship lead? I think it's about over 60, 70 points now. The next race on the 24th of November at Las Vegas is under the lights. It's a 6 a.m. start in the UK. So a very early start, 6 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time for the start of the F1. You're going to be setting those alarm clocks early. And after that, will then follow Qatar, Abu Dhabi, a triple header to finish the season off. Qatar in the middle of that, Las Vegas to start, Abu Dhabi on the 8th of December. Christmas themed race, Abu Dhabi, certainly is going to be interesting, to say the least. As well, we're going to go over to NASCAR now, where they have their final round this weekend on Sunday at Phoenix. And Martinsville, Ryan Blaney won the event. There isn't any championship favourite. However, though, two drivers are tied on points. And yes, as a result of that, the championship 4 has been decided for Phoenix. We can confirm to you now, guys, that the playoffs have been complete. And yes, we now have our final 4 drivers. The final 4 drivers for the NASCAR playoffs are going to be as followed. So this is the final round for the playoffs, which will see the likes of Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron fight it out for, that's the Cup Series standings. So yeah, they're going to all fight it out to become champion. So yes, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and William Byron will be the final 4 drivers battling it out for the championship. And that's at Phoenix this weekend. So Phoenix, season finale 500. Can't wait for this one. It's going to be very interesting. So yeah, that's the last round of the NASCAR season. And on to car news now. Not really much news this week. It's a quiet show, but we have got a few things I want to talk about for cars, because there has been some announcements on new car news that I quickly want to flag up on the show. In terms of news as well, it comes as Skoda have announced a Fiat Grande Panda rival with 113 brake horsepower. In terms of the car that's being called, it is going to cost £7,300. Apparently, it's going to be called the Indian market. It's going to get a lot of tech for a very low price tag. So interesting to see how that gets on as well in that world. Also as well, the Vauxhall Mocha, a car that is one of my least favourite cars, is going to get a new update. It also hikes the internal combustion engine starting price and lowers EV as well. So the Vauxhall Mocha, the updated Mocha has gone on sale. It's going to start from 19,000. Not 1,000. It's rising to £24,705, a rise of 1,150. But pricing for the electric and hybrid models will be dropping. Its entry-level drifting trim level has been axed, part of a light update intended to keep the more crossover competitive against a host of new rivals. Vauxhall has elsewhere cut the price of the EV to 33,000. That's down by nearly 5,000. The hybrid is now 3,250, down to 27,305. And the EV option is now sold with a 156 brake horsepower powertrain, which is previously a cost option. Also inside, the Mocha will get a fresh interior, including a reworked center console, a new 10-inch digital driver display, and a 10-inch infotainment system. This is a part of the latest edition as well. It's also going to get a flat bottom steering wheel as well, which is very similar to those which is found in the Astra. In terms of that, the latter will use a 156 brake horsepower to the electric motor of 136, or pure combustion with a 1.2 litre turbocharged petrol. So the Mocha gets a facelift. This generation gets a latest. It's also going to get front end changes and a more prominent lower lip as well. All it looks futuristic enough. Will it be better to drive? I don't know. Might still be the same, but all I can say is that that's certainly going to be interesting going forward with the design of that car and how you can get involved as well. Also as well, in some more news for the world of cars, not really. The Kia Sportage is also going to get a facelift. According to that new, looks like front end changes coming to the Kia Sportage. That is, of course, a crossover famously used to sponsor the Euro football once. So certainly on that one as well. In terms of one more news story, which I'm going to quickly cover on the show today, I really want to talk quickly about this. Famously disaster cars that were in fact successful. So this article is courtesy of Autocar. A lot of people don't know this, but you get cars out there that are just absolutely terrible, like classic cars, new cars, everything, but we're actually really good at selling. So it certainly had its fair share of things, and you really have to actually kind of get into a real vibe about it in a way, because this is a whole trend of cars that actually gets really bad. So I've got some cars here. The first one was the AMC Gremlin, which is the first one. Apparently it had a 2 litre to a 5 litre engine. In terms of that, though, it's because of its styling. Apparently, though, it was radical fun. Look at that for a styling of a Gremlin. Certainly, I think they called it something from a movie. Very interesting there. Another car that was also on the list as well, the Austin Allegro, designed by Harris Mann. It was also known for a famous quadic steering wheel, which apparently was square. Many people seem to believe it was the car's defining feature. It was discontinued after 10 years in 1973, after 2 more major updates. The car was, but look at that, it looked like an upturned bathtub. I mean, the Allegro is one of the worst British cars ever made. Certainly interesting, but interesting there as well. Also, as well, you had the Chevrolet Citillon as well, another version of that car. The Corvair also got a nomination. The Chrysler PT Cruiser, a bit of a newer car, this one, even though it was still technically old. It was introduced in 2000. It was based on a Neon but had more interior space. However, though, the cabriolet version was Scuttle Snake was once compared to that of a Motormaina convertible. So this car was also known for very bad styling. Look at that, the Chrysler PT Cruiser. I mean, that is dreadful. That's the convertible version. I mean, Citroen made the C3 Plurial convertible that looked even worse than that, trust me. Both were terrible. The Escort Mark V gets a nomination on this list. Very surprised, actually. On one of the worst cars. According to this, it was the Mark V Escort for having bland styling and poor driving dynamics. Yeah, you could tell the Escort was certainly on the end of its day. I don't know. Is that good? It's not like a Sierra Cosworth, isn't it? It just looks a bit dull, doesn't it, really? Ford Pinto? This is a very rare car. I don't really know a lot about Ford Pintos myself. That's a rare one. Apparently it was known to catch fire a lot. Then we had, of course, the Lada, a Russian-built car, also built by Autovaz, which country, obviously, during the war now, obviously, with the war in Ukraine, that car has had Lada apparently making a huge loss of money. Also known from a used to fit 124 platform. Certainly one of the worst cars ever made, in my opinion. Having said that, though, they sold 18 million units were built. Even from every year from the breakup of the Beatles, and went well into the career of Taylor Swift. So you could say that the Motormaina, as well, that car went on to sell 1.1 million units. Crazy to think that, right? Despite that car being very bad. The Renault Dauphine, more powerful version. It was a replacement for the 4CV Renault. When you look at that, it actually sold 2.1 million units. However, though, it had just, it was pretty terrible. In all right there. And the TR7, known as the Cheese Wedge, Triumph TR7, featured a rover-powered V8. It was only sold in North America, apparently, that engine. Yeah. The TR7 actually sold, 100,000 cars. The TR7 is certainly very interesting. It's got that cheese wedge shape. It kind of looks like a mini version. It looks like a mini Ferrari, doesn't it? But that's all these cars that sold really well. It's weird, like some of them cars on the list, like the AMC Gremlin, Triumph TR7, Ford Escort as well. The Escort surprised me. I never thought an Escort Mark V was that bad. Maybe it was a bad car. I didn't know that the Escort Mark V was a bad car, but maybe Ford just made a really bad Escort that year. But it actually sold very well. I mean, like, when you look at the Escort Mark V, in terms of, how well that sold, I mean, it sold a lot of units when you think about it. Like, the Escort Mark V was a huge seller, for Ford. I mean, look. Like, how can that actually get... Because they revised it 2 years later. Apparently, according to this, £1 billion was spent on that car. I just find that really bizarre. Anyway, if you got any more cars that sold really well but that were terrible, please let me know, because I would love to do things like this. I love talking about features like this because it's really important to talk about, some of these cars that just sold so much but were rubbish, but some cars that were really good but sold very little. So that's all I can say. But thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a great night. I'll see you next time for another edition of the Motormania podcast. That's all, folks. Take care. Good night.